The Isuzu D-Max, launched in 2012, is already available in a choice of cab styles and spec levels, but the company recently expanded the range with a new special edition called the Blade. Available in either Cosmic Black or, as here, Splash White, the Blade features a number of additions to make it stand out, starting with a grey front grille that emphasises the chunky front styling, plus a neat set of 18-inch alloy wheels, chunky side steps and subtle Blade graphics. There are also contrasting black door handles, black roof rails and a black rear bumper, plus the choice of either a colour-matched hardtop or, as we have here, a set of black rear bars and mountain top roller cover. Whichever top you choose, there's an under-rail bed liner in the load bay, the dimensions of which are slightly shorter but a little wider than that of a Toyota Hilux, and can easily accommodate a Euro pallet between the wheel arches. Maximum payload is 1,063 kg and it can tow 3.5 tonnes in a brake trailer, beating the Hilux by 700 kg. Inside, the Blade gets heated leather seats as standard, and while some of the plastics aren't up to the quality of those in the Toyota, the Isuzu has much more interior space on offer. In fact, our only real gripe is that the steering wheel adjusts for height but not reach. The dash itself has a suitably workmanlike appeal to its simplicity and has more practical storage options than most of its rivals, with a flip-top compartment on top of the dash, plus not one but two glove boxes, one of which has an integral power point. We like the simplicity of the climate controls with a big chunky temperature dial, and while the instruments perhaps aren't as clear as those in the Hilux, they do at least include a decent trip computer. Blade models also feature a Pioneer media and navigation system complete with a rear view camera, and while it does everything you could ask of it, including full UK postcode recognition, next to Toyota's Touch and Go system, it does look a little dated. Carrying rear seat passengers might not be a priority for most pickup drivers, but if you run one as an only vehicle, it's good to have the option, and the D-Max's seat backs can fold forward to quickly make a flat load surface, or the seat bases can be flipped up individually for even more space. Plus there's a pair of cubby holes in the floor to hide things out of sight. Power comes from a 2.5 litre twin turbo diesel that produces 163 PS and 400 Nm of torque. That's 20 PS more than the 2.5 litre unit in the Hilux and only 6 PS less than the Toyota's 3 litre engine, but in both cases the Isuzu has more torque, nearly 60 Nm more in fact for manual models. It's also marginally more efficient, with CO2 emissions of 192 grams per kilometre compared to the Toyota's 203, and an official economy figure of 38.7 mpg compared to the 36.7 of the Hilux. In the real world, we averaged around 34 mpg during our testing, a figure we'd struggle to match in the Toyota. On the move, while you wouldn't call it quiet, it's no noisier than any of its rivals, with largely reassuring truck-like noises coming from the engine bay. The D-Max is available with either a 5-speed auto or this, the 6-speed manual gearbox. It shifts cleanly enough, if not quite as precisely as the Toyota's 5-speed unit, and while most ratios are where you'd expect them, 6th gear is particularly tall, so you may need to shift down to 5th for gradients. Wind noise around the doors is also a little more obvious than we'd like, but other than that the D-Max is surprisingly comfortable. We'd say it rides with a touch more composure than the Hilux, with better damp body movements, although there is still a tendency to allow some crashiness into the cabin over cat's eyes and potholes for instance. It feels a little more stable at speed too, and although there's almost no feedback through the hydraulically assisted steering, it's not overly prone to wandering about. Of course, its on-road performance is only half the story, with the D-Max benefiting from the shift-on-the-fly four-wheel drive system. It's controlled via a dial by the gear lever, and this allows you to switch into four-wheel drive mode at speeds of up to 60 miles an hour, while switching into low ratio requires the vehicle to be stationary and in neutral. It's a mechanically simple four-wheel drive system, which is just as we like it, but whereas the Hilux has an electrically gauged locking rear differential on 2.5 litre models and a limited slip diff on the 3 litre, the D-Max has neither, and it's not difficult to spin up a rear wheel on slippery surfaces. In terms of stats, the D-Max matches the Hilux's 30-degree approach angle with a 23-degree departure angle versus the Toyota's 22 and a breakover of 22 compared to 25 of the Toyota. Isuzu don't officially quote a maximum wading depth, but the air intake's location inside the offside front wing should offer decent protection. Ground clearance of 235mm meanwhile beats the 212 of the Hilux. By now you're probably building up a picture of swings and roundabouts. Some things the D-Max does better, other things are done better by the Hilux. The Toyota has a more hardware in cabin for instance, but the D-Max has more space. The D-Max offers more ground clearance, but the Toyota does a better job of maintaining traction. While on the road the D-Max feels more urgent, its gearing means it's nearly 4 seconds slow to 60. This unfortunately makes the job of choosing between them more difficult. Unfortunately, there is one area where the D-Max wins outright, and that's price. The Blade Special Edition includes around £5,000 worth of extras in its sticker price of $29,938, and spec a Hilux to a similar level and you'll need around $31,500. But Toyota is also getting a bit long in the tooth now, whereas the D-Max feels more up to date. And although we weren't completely sold on the Blade's blinged up looks to start with, after a week with it, its chunky sense of style had won us over.